Greetings family and internet strangers, Stephanie here with a new What's for Dinner video. These meals are all meals that I have eaten while doing a Daniel fast. If you're not sure what that is, it is a spiritual fast. There is food sacrifice involved, but it's not just complete not eating anything. And I'll have more information about that in my description box down below if you're not familiar, but let's get right into it. First up, very simple, roasted broccoli and roasted potatoes. Now, if you're not familiar with this, it does come from the Bible. Daniel ate no choice food or drink, and so there are multiple mentions of this. There's a 10-day version, a 21-day version. I've done both. I did 21 days in 2019, and in 2021 I did 10 days. So I wanted to do this again. I like to do this during the Lent season. I was going to do this right at the beginning of Lent, but with other circumstances, just was not able to do that. But the point of it is to keep things very simple and to make sacrifices in the food that you eat as a form of worship and praise to God. So you eat fruits, vegetables, and whole grains is pretty much what you can have. So it's a lot of focus on whole plant-based foods. So I am starting this out with some simple roasted veggies. I am chopping up my potatoes and putting them in water to rinse. Now, I have recently started rinsing potatoes the same way I rinse white rice, and it has worked so well getting all that additional starch off the outside. My potatoes have been cooking up a little bit easier. You are able to have some oils on the Daniel fast, and last time I did it, I really tried to avoid that. However, I ended up going to the doctor for blood work right after I had finished the Daniel fast, and they were like, wow, your sugar looks great and your cholesterol is low, but healthy fats. You need to have healthy fats. So this time I am having a little bit more oils and avocados and that kind of stuff so that I am keeping everything nice and balanced, because I'll probably do the same thing and go to the doctor again right after I'm done with it this time around too. So you're not eating any added sugars, and that always makes the blood work look nice, and the doctor is happy when it looks that way. So for my potatoes, olive oil, Italian seasoning, salt, and pepper is all I'm putting on them. I can't talk anymore, y'all. It's probably the lack of caffeine. So with my potatoes, they take longer than the broccoli, so I put the potatoes in first. I did these for about 20 minutes at 450 in my air roaster. So not the air fryer, but my air fry oven has an air roast function, and I had never used it before, and now it's going to be my new favorite thing because these potatoes were done in 20 minutes. And then about 10 minutes in, I put the broccoli in as well. So broccoli's got the same seasonings, that olive oil, salt, pepper, and Italian seasoning. And then once my potatoes are halfway done, I pull those out and add the broccoli onto the same sheet. That made this nice and easy, really quick to clean up as well, when I could just take that foil sheet right off the pan and be able to use the same pan again another night for a different meal. So these meals are supposed to be very simple, not only in the ingredients that you use, but also simple to cook, so you're not spending so much time in the kitchen. That leaves more time for prayer and reading and other things that I sometimes don't necessarily make time for. This was very delicious. And then the next night I had some more potatoes because I did prep 2 potatoes, but one of them I parboiled right after I chopped it up. Now, I originally intended to do this back at the beginning of Lent, and so I still had some of those veggies that I had bought for that and had not been eaten, so these potatoes needed to be used up in the first few days. But moving forward, after I finished those 2 potatoes, I probably won't have as many white potatoes. You are able to have them, but since that is kind of like a choice food for me in general, I love some potatoes, I'm going to try and avoid having too many of those white potatoes for the rest of the time. So these, I had some onions and olive oil in the pan. I had parboiled these potatoes the day before, so they really just needed to be heated through. I added salt, pepper, and some of the Trader Joe's Green Goddess seasoning. So you just want to look at the ingredient labels when you're doing this, and there was no sugar, no added sugar in the Green Goddess seasoning, so I still was able to use that. And then I had found this coleslaw mix for 81 cents with the reduced sticker at Kroger when I had gone to the grocery store. And since I had planned to do cabbage, but my cabbage was not looking too good the morning before I went to the grocery store, I decided this would be great since it was on sale. I could get that real cheap and still stick to my plan of having just potatoes and cabbage. Again, very simple meal. So for my cabbage here, I have got this in the same pan as I just pulled my potatoes out of. I could have cooked them together, but I didn't want my potatoes to get completely broken up in the pan, and I knew they would if I kept cooking them in with this. But seasoned it with the same seasoning as the potatoes, and then I like my cabbage to be really soft, so I added some water in here as well and just continued moving this around in my wok until it was cooked to my liking, which is nice and soft. But if you like your cabbage to be just barely cooked, that is totally fine as well. All of these are just to provide some meal inspiration for y'all. And this was the final product, cabbage and potatoes. The next night, I knew I needed some more protein because I am not getting enough protein doing this. I do have nuts and things like that throughout the day as snacks and as lunch, but want to add some protein in at dinner. I also had some sweet potatoes that I need to use up, so I did roasted sweet potatoes. Again, loving that air roaster function. So for my potatoes, I cubed them up. I added olive oil, chili powder, salt, pepper, and paprika, and then put those out on a baking sheet, again lined in foil for that real easy cleanup, and 20 minutes at 450 on that air roast function was perfect to get these done. And then for my black beans, to make it really simple, I used canned black beans. I do have a video showing how I make them in the Instant Pot from last time I did this. I can link that in the description box below, but canned makes it so much easier. So I do doctor them up a little bit. In my pan, I've got a little bit of olive oil. I add in my onions and peppers that I had prepped in advance, so that was really simple to just throw those in the pot when I got home from work. I let those brown up, and then once they were nice and soft, I added a can of black beans with the liquid and all, and then got everything stirred up so it'd be evenly mixed. And then I added some spices. I added chili powder to this, and then since there's already salt in the canned beans, I didn't add any more salt. I did add pepper and a little bit of garlic powder in these too, and you can season them to taste. And then I stirred them around. I put a lid on them and let them cook until they were nice and soft. And then I added my roasted potatoes right on top. Very tasty. This one, not as tasty. This is from Trader Joe's. I had gotten this in one of my grocery hauls recently, and I did not like this. I know it says spicy right on the thing, but it was so spicy that I had to add guacamole into it in an attempt to get the avocado to just calm down the spice on that just a little bit. Then next up, this is a vegan quinoa chili, and I had this in the freezer from last time I made this. I do believe I have a video about how I make this vegan quinoa chili, and then I freeze any leftovers. So this was the last pack of leftovers I had in the freezer, and I simply put it into a pan, let it thaw, let it cook through, and this was really easy since I had already done the work of cooking it in advance. So I'll link that down below. I love this recipe. I have used it every time I have done a Daniel fast. And then finally, some nights you want to keep it real simple, and this night I didn't feel like cooking a thing, so I simply had a plate of some hummus, some carrots, some blueberries, and some almonds, and that was dinner. Thank you so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this video and it gave you some inspiration. And if it did, I hope you give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I've got more content coming out every week.